Well, hi, thanks for watching. My name is Andy Norton, and in this video, I will introduce you to a two-player variant for one of my favorite games, Twilight Imperium. The rules for this variant are all drawn up on this handy-dandy one-page sheet, which you can find in the description of this video. But I'm making this video introduction for those of you who are more audio, video learners. And additionally, in this video, I want to walk through a round or two of gameplay to show just how effectively this variant recreates the Twilight Imperium experience for as few as 2 players, or even for just one person playing both sides, as I will show. So we have the one-page sheet. I'll walk you through using it to set up a game. So first, set up as normal by randomly assigning one of the players the speaker token. So in this case, we give the player on the left the speaker token. Then next, choose your faction. I like the old randomly get 3, choose 1 style of faction selection. And in this case, the player on the left chose the Argent Flight from the Prophecy of Kings. And the player on the right chose the good old Federation of Soul. And next thing that you would do, this is where there would now be a little bit of a change for the variant. So as you can see here, this is how the galaxy is set up. We have all these green tiles sitting here just to show where there will be, blue and red tiles placed in a little bit. But in these 3 corners, you have what are called the trade systems. And the trade systems are unused faction tiles. So we randomly selected which factions would be placed here. And so we have the Mahawked Gene Sorcerers, the Necrovirus, and we have the Barony of Letnev. And we place their faction home system there. And if you have Prophecy of Kings, you also put their commander next to it, unlocked. We'll talk about that in a moment. And we also put these, Tops of War Suns from unused colors, just to show that these are trade systems. And that's significant because you can enter the space area of these systems, but you can never place any units or gain control of the trade systems. They're kind of neutral in this conflict. So that is what you set up right there. And what we would do next is, I should say too, that these are considered non-home systems, and they're not considered to have planets since you can't capture any planets in them. And so if you have Prophecy of Kings, that's significant because we'll be putting, frontier tokens here, and they're considered systems that are, don't have planets for like objectives and things like that. All right, and now let's take a break from setup for a moment just to read through the remaining rules for the 2-player variant. They're all pretty straightforward. I wanted to keep this as simple as possible so that it was the least different from the base game. And everything that's different sort of comes under that theme of these trade systems. So first, I'll say that the trade strategies, this is a difference. There's one little difference in the strategy phase, is that each player chooses a 2nd and 3rd strategy card in the strategy phase instead of just 1. So in 3 and 4 player, you would choose 2. Well, here in 2 player, each player gets 3 of these strategy cards every strategy phase. There's kind of 1.5 changes to the action phase. The thing here is that it says, while a player controls the space area of 2 or more trade systems, they are considered to have 1 additional VP. So if you think about the math of that, it's only possible for one of the players to have that additional VP at any point, if any of them do. And if you have Prophecy of Kings, while you control one of these space areas, you also gain access to their commander, kind of like you had the Alliance promissory note. You can use their commander, which in this case is really interesting. The Mahawks have a very powerful one. These guys have some pretty cool ones as well. Then there is one change to the status phase. This is trade routes. It says add the convert commodities step to the end of the status phase with the text convert up to 2 commodities into trade goods for each trade system space area you control. So this might be how, you might be wondering, if I take the trade strategy card, how am I going to convert my commodities into trade goods when, why would I ever trade with my single opponent? And so the way you're going to do that is that during the status phase, after scoring objectives, after regaining your command tokens, all of those things, there's going to be one more step, which is for each of those systems that you have a ship at, each one you're controlling, you can convert up to 2 of your commodities into trade goods. And then the last thing is just for trade votes. This is the one change in the agenda phase, which is that before each player votes and after the speaker votes, a trade system will vote. So if the player on the left is the speaker, let's say this player is the speaker, votes will proceed clockwise from the trade system to the right of the right player. So it would go Necro, Federation of Soul, Barony of Latnev, the Argent Flight, Mahakt Gene Sorcerers. That's how it would proceed for voting if they had the speaker token. If the Federation of Soul on the right had the speaker token, it would go counterclockwise like so. And the way that they would vote is that a die would be rolled to determine the outcome for which that trade system will vote. All options are considered equal. This is very straightforward if it's, for one player, if it's elect player, or if it's a for or against vote. Sometimes it gets a little bit more complex if it's, say, elect planet or some other thing that might have more than 2 options. But normally I'll just roll on a 1 to 5, that's for, on a 6 to 10, that's against. And then you roll another die, and that's how many votes they vote, plus the influence of their planet. So if it's a for against agenda and Ixth is voting, they would roll on a 1 to 5, they vote for. Okay, so they're going to vote for now. And then they roll, say, a 6. They take a 6 and add the 5 influence from their planet, and that's 11 votes for. And so it would proceed like that. The speaker still breaks a tie if there's a tie after the last planet has voted. And that is how voting goes. The only other little difference there is that you're also allowed to spend trade goods or commodities as votes. So it's another way to use those that fits into the trade system theme. And then lastly there is just the golden rule, which is that generally when any objective or ability requires an impossible number, the closest possible number suffices. So a big clear example of that is any ability that says, be neighbors with 2 neighbors, or with 2 other players. Something like that is impossible because there are no 2 other players, so 1 would suffice. But if any other card or component requires or references something impossible or unused, it may be ignored or replaced if possible. So for example, in most instances, you're just going to put away the promissory notes and not make use of those. And so if there's an objective or an action card or something like that, if possible, you're going to discard it and redraw it. If it's an ability that a faction has, that interacts with promissory notes, you have to either just call it a loss and say, I guess that's just one little ability that they're not going to get access to this game, or in some rare circumstances, you might still try to incorporate promissory notes utilizing a faction's ability. I think there's 1 or 2 factions that might really be easy enough for you to do that. So that is all of the variant rules. The only other thing mentioning here is just that for filling in all these green tiles, you're going to give each player 5 blue and 4 red backed tiles for the Galaxy setup. And so that is the tutorial. That is everything that's different. You can play this whole game and have an awesome Twilight Imperium experience as 2 players, or even I would really argue as 1 player, you can have a blast. I have a blast playing out both sides of the game as just 1 player. It feels like a solo experience, not that different from Marvel Champions or Gloomhaven or some of my other favorite solo games. And one of the reasons for that, I would say, is just there is no negotiation. There's no, should I attack him and not attack him? You have 1 opponent, and so there's not a lot of ambiguity as to what you should be doing for either side. And so I found it really easy to get into the head of whatever player I'm playing as at that moment in a way that's not easy to do with the times that I have tried to walk through a 3-player Twilight Imperium game. And why have I done that? I've just done that because I don't know if you may have done this ever in your life, but I've done that just as a way to familiarize myself and get it part of the Twilight Imperium experience when I'm not able to play with friends. And what I've found is that that's challenging with 3 players because there's negotiating things that kind of, you have to sort of think a lot about, this person wouldn't know that he has this action card and blah, blah, blah. Whereas in this, it's a lot simpler, I've found, and almost never am I having to really try to finagle things. It's much more straightforward. So you can totally play this, just set it up yourself, play the game, or you can play with a friend. I've known many people who have played with a son or a father or a friend or a sister, and they've gotten so much more value out of this game that they spent $100, $150, $250 for if they have the whole game with Prophecy of Kings. And so I'm really happy to hear that people have gotten more value out of the game by using this variant. So without further ado, I think we'll just hop into a round or two of gameplay and show you how this plays out. And so to start off, before that, just to finish out the setup, both sides, I guess the speaker will be placing first, but he's been given 5 blue backed tiles and 4 red backed tiles. One other tiny little thing for this is just that with the red tiles, if you want to, you can discard red tiles and keep redrawing if you draw more than one empty space tile, just because it's more fun having these like interesting tiles that don't have empty space. Although in this instance, actually, when I drew them, both players happened to have just one empty space, so I didn't have to do that. So anyways, 4 red back tiles and 5 blue tiles, and so they place first. A big decision I've seen happen is basically trying to decide, so in this case, the Argent flight is starting on the left. They're trying to decide, do I place a really good planet in this place next to Mecatol and close to me, or do I put something bad on their side to sort of block them and gum up things? And I think in this case, they're gonna go with placing, I think placing Semlor right next to Mecatol. That seems like a fun, easily defended system that they could put a couple PDS on, they could put a space dock on, and now they've got this advanced space dock situation going on, and that could really work out for them. So they're gonna place Semlor. And now on the right, the Federation of Sol is now going to place, and they get to place 2 systems in this inner ring before passing it back to the other player. So in this case, let's look at what they've got. Interesting. Oh, interesting. They could do something similar and put this 3 resource of Evera planet next to Mecatol, and that could allow them to similarly build a space dock and build a couple PDS and have a very well defended place. But the problem with that is since it's a nebula, they can only move 1 space out of that at a time. So I don't know that they want to do that. I kind of wonder if they should instead do something like maybe even Quan, or maybe Lysis and Bell. No, I think they're going to try and do Quan. So do this with the beta wormhole, and maybe that would also allow them to launch attacks somewhere else if they can get another beta wormhole somewhere. So they're going to put Quan here, and now they're going to decide, do I want to throw something kind of over his way? Yeah, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this gravity drift. So Federation of Sol is also going to put this gravity drift over on the left player's side, the Argent flight's side, just to kind of block things up. It's not the best system to have more on your side. So back to the Argent flight on the left. They're going to place 2 tiles now, and I think they probably want to just make sure that they can get these out there as well. Although, unfortunately, they have anti-mass deflectors, so these aren't the worst for them. So maybe what they want to do is do something like this. What if they have a beta wormhole, so that's cool. They could kind of choose where this is going to lead them. So why don't we, for right now, just do this. Let's do this. Let's do asteroid field over here. And we're going to do empty space right here. And no, empty space over here. We'll let them choose something interesting for that. All right, so back to the right side, the Federation of Sol. They get to place the last thing here and then the first one of the next ring. So I think they might want to say, do we want to place just like an empty space here, or maybe an alpha wormhole and really sort of have access to whatever wormholes situations come up? Let's try that. Let's try alpha wormhole here. And now again, a big decision for them is, do we place something worse on their side or something better on our own side? And they're going to go ahead and do Lysis and Valnor, which is really solid 2 and 2 resources, and place that right between them and Quan. So they've got a nice sort of shot towards Mecatol. Back to the left side, the Argent Flight. They're going to place 2 more in the second ring. And let's see. This is kind of interesting, the regal planets, because it kind of fits thematically with the fact that they have all these many planets here. So what if they put this right here, and that would give up their carrier a really simple and straightforward place to move. That's a pretty solid choice, I think. And now, do they throw something more on their side, or are they going to, well, they can't do either of these in this spot, which is interesting. Or do they want to give themselves another solid planet? What if they put this right? What if they put this right here and gave themselves another place for either their destroyers could go or their carrier could move to next? So now it's back to the right side, the Federation of Sol. I think they're tempted to put Evera right here, so that they have then a sort of a stop measure against, fast movement through this area to get into their slice. So I think they're going to do that. They're going to put Evera right here, since the nebula, people can't move through it, right? And they only have one space movement out of it. And why don't they throw, these are some pretty solid systems, not great, but solid systems. Why don't they throw Arinam and Mir over here, still pretty close to them. And it's back to the Argent Flight. They're going to put 2 more in this center ring. What if they throw this beta wormhole somewhere kind of lame, like over here? So that's not really giving them and Quan really any way to do anything super cool with that movement. And then they can't place this here or here, so they have to do one of these. And yellow tech, they already have access to yellow tech. Why don't they throw this Wellon over here and kind of force them to potentially give them a solid planet over here? And so that's what they don't have to do that really. They could put this here if they wanted to. Or, yeah, I think they'll do that. They'll put some empty space here. And now they have one to place in the last ring. So these 4 spots right here. Again, pretty solid places, but not incredible. They're both pretty close to identical systems, actually. So I guess the idea is, does he want more cultural or more industrial? I think he wants more industrial. I think he's going to give himself this right here, I think. Yeah, let's try that. So you're gonna put that there. And then the Argent Flight gets to place both of these. And unfortunately, he can't place this here. So that was actually a really brilliant move by him. So unfortunately, he's gonna have to give himself this asteroid field with the Alpha Wormhole, which is not fun. It might almost force him to have to get anti-mass deflectors or something, because it's gonna stink having this be a sort of a vulnerability for him through that Alpha Wormhole. That was not good. I don't know how he could have gotten around that, but he's going to probably place this here, I guess. And then he's going to place this system. He says what he has can't be worse than this, so he's going to give him perimeter. And sure enough, Cornic Resculon is probably better than that. So at least he got a solid system right there. But that is the setup. This is a fun setup here, actually. I really like this Galaxy build. And let's go on into the start of the game then. So, Secret Objectives is the next thing. So for the Federation of Sol, they're going to be looking at mine rare metals. That says control 4 hazardous planets. So there are only 2 hazardous planets on the board. So this is a good example of one of the things about the variant, which is if it says, control a certain number that's impossible, the next best suffices. So technically, he only has to control 2 hazardous planets to complete this objective. However, one of those is Regal, which could be very challenging to control. Let's think about that. On the other hand, is Establish Perimeter, have 4 PDS units on the game board. He starts with 0 PDS units. I think he wants to try mine rare metals and try and be really aggressive and just somehow get Regal 1 controlled, and that would be it. I mean, surely he'll have Mir at some point, and then it'd just be a matter of getting Regal 1. So he'll do mine rare metals for the Federation of Soul player over here on the left. And then for the Argent Flight, they're going to have occupy the seat of the Empire, control mecatol Rex, and have 3 or more ships in its system. That seems pretty doable from the side of he usually has lots of ships, such as 3 or more ships. That includes fighters? I think so. I believe so. It doesn't say non-fighter ships. So that could be really easy as long as he controlled mecatol, which could be hard because of Federation of Souls power on the ground. But then have 3 or more non-fighter ships in the active system at the end of a space combat. Demonstrate your power. I kind of like this because, again, he has easy access to lots of non-fighter ships. And the fact this is action phase could make it just a very powerful, sort of surprise score at a time when maybe Soul doesn't think he can push and win the game. So let's try to demonstrate your power for the Argent Flight. We'll toss those. All right, and then I believe that we are good to go. We'll set up the, sorry, I keep on remembering tiny things. The public objectives. We have Intimidate, Council, and Amass Wealth. So Intimidate Council is have 1 or more ships in 2 systems that are adjacent to mecatol Rex's system. And Amass Wealth is spend 3 influence, 3 resources, and 3 trade goods. Jeez, 3 influence, 3 resources, 3 trade goods. That's a lot. Okay, that's interesting. But the being around mecatol does not seem very difficult at all, really. So that's cool. Let's go. Let's do this. So now we begin the game with the Argent Flight on the left, has the speaker token, and so they will choose the first strategy card. I found that leadership is sort of the number one, right? It's number one. It's one of the best ones because in 2-player, people talk about, Twilight Imperium, it shouldn't just be space risk. Well, this gets a little bit closer to space risk in terms of there can be a lot of movement, I think more conflict and more combat than in general, because there's no other player who's going to hit you once you have, hit the other person. And so moving around and being aggressive and taking planets is very much the order of the day. And so leadership is really important for those command tokens. However, technology obviously is also super important. And then it goes on from there. For the Argent Flight, though, I really think command tokens, because I don't think technology is going to get them more planets this opening turn. So they're going to go ahead and just do leadership for them. Now over to the Federation of Soul. Technology is awesome because they could get gravity drive and then be able to get to lots of great planets and really set themselves up for success. So I think they do want to just grab technology for the Federation of Soul. Back over to the Argent Flight. Other powerful ones include Warfare, although it can be awkward sometimes trying to figure out how to get the best out of the primary without letting your opponent benefit too heavily from the secondary. But I think that they could potentially be fine using Warfare, because for them, the interesting thing about Warfare is it would let them control probably 2 more planets. Like if this carrier could get to here and then here, or here and here, something like that, and their destroyers could get to these places, Warfare could be really clutch for that. Or heck, they could even potentially build here and then Warfare that and then move out and take multiple planets with 3 destroyers. Let's try that. Let's do Warfare for them. So then for the Federation of Soul, they're looking at things. A lot of times these 2 are the last to be taken in the first round, but we'll see. Or I should say they don't necessarily get taken in the first round. Politics is usually the 3rd pick for the 2nd player, just because they're going to want it. They're not going to want it, but they're not going to need it until the 3rd pick. So Politics is usually last. So for them, trade is awesome though, because it sets them up for if they want to do double technologies this first turn, they can. So they're going to do trade. And then for the Argent Flight, back to them. Again, they don't want politics. This would only really be a secret objective. They don't have like the best planets, and they have better planets like Jord. So not diplomacy. And they're going to go ahead with construction. And so what they could do is probably take Semlar and then build a space dock and a PDS on that immediately, which would be awesome. They're going to go ahead with construction. And then, yeah, it's a no-brainer. They're going to take politics here. So we'll set these to the side, place a trade good on each of these. And then we are good to go with the first round finally, except for one last thing, as I keep remembering. So the Frontier tokens, since we're playing with the Prophecy of Kings, which, by the way, Prophecy of Kings is so awesome. And one of my favorite things about this variant is it's allowed me to really explore everything that Prophecy of Kings has to offer, like the exploration cards, the commanders for factions like that I already know really well, like the Federation of Sol, but then also, you know, entire factions like the Argent Flight, which I otherwise would have trouble getting familiarized with. It's allowed me to really explore those things and enjoy those. And again, these are considered to not actually have planets since you can't control them. And so we put Frontier tokens in those. One little, I think that's all of them. Yeah. One variant that I've tried out before, but I don't usually play with, but it's fun to do, is to give both players the dark energy tap technology. And for two reasons. One, because Gravity Drive is just one of the best techs, probably the best tech in Twilight Imperium, in terms of just generally being great for people. And in this, it's no exception. It's very, very often something you're going to want to get. So by having Dark Energy Tap, you already have the prerequisite for it. So it doesn't make it like a big thing that you have to focus on in the two-player game. It's not a big deal having it or not having it. But the other thing is it makes it fun because whenever you're going to these systems, you're actually extra incentivized to go to these systems because you get to explore the Frontier tokens. So you know what? What the heck? We're going to go ahead and we're going to give both players their Dark Energy Tap. So they're going to start with that, and they'll be one step closer to Gravity Drive. And now they get to enjoy, and we get to enjoy seeing all the Frontier tokens when they go to those. And it gives you one more reason to go to these trade systems in particular. So kind of a cool thing. And so we'll just say the Empyrean faction have come in and taught these factions about Dark Energy Tap. And maybe that's what started this whole trade war in the first place. So, all right, now good to go with the first action of the first round, I think, unless I forgot something else. But I think we are good to go. So the Argent Flight has the leadership strategy card, so they will start the game. And they're going to be thinking about, all right, they don't have what they need. I don't think they're going to be able to do technology this round, probably. And so they aren't really worried about these other strategy cards. They do want to use warfare before they could probably get the best use out of it otherwise. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to first and foremost just straight up move, I think, they could move both their destroyers if they wanted to, like out to here, and then they could build, say, 2 or 3 more destroyers, something like that. Why don't they try doing this? Why don't they move here with the carrier, and they're gonna move literally 4 of these infantry out. So they're gonna bring 1 here, 1 here, and 2 here to Regal. One of the reasons I'm doing that is because if you've played this, explored this enough, you start to see that many, many times hazardous planets will make you lose infantry to gain a great benefit. And so I'm going to bring 2 just so I can potentially do that and still have someone on the planet. So here we're going to have Regal 1, Regal 2, Regal 3. And let's just start off with Regal 1. Their hazardous card here is a hazardous relic fragment. So the Argent Flight will just gain that. And now Regal 2, they've got one of these green ones, the industrial planets. Functioning base, you may gain 1 commodity, or you may spend a trade good or a commodity to draw an action card. So they're going to gain a commodity. So just one commodity gets added to their 3 commodity limit. Regal 3, they've got local fabricators. You may gain 1 commodity, or you may spend 1 trade good or 1 commodity to place 1 mech from your reinforcements on this planet. Wow, so at Regal 3, they're gonna spend their 1 commodity to place a mech on Regal 3. That's really cool. Their mechs say this unit does not count against capacity if it is being transported or if it is in a space area with 1 or more of your ships that have capacity values. Wow, that is so cool. So they have the Eerie Sentinels. And that is them. I'll just grab out their Regal 1, 2, and 3 systems over here. Hopefully they're not too hard to find. And then we'll move on to the Federation of Souls first turn. So Regal 3, Regal 2, and Regal 1 all coming into play, exhausted for the Argent Flight. So back over to the Federation of Soul. They want to be ready to benefit off of the Argent Flight's warfare, but they also want to benefit off of their construction, and they'd also like to make it so they don't benefit off of technology, like have no chance of that. I don't think they have to rush it on the technology, and they probably can't rush it because they really want to probably do trade before they do technology. But they also might want to do trade before they move to all these industrial planets, actually. So they're going to actually start off by doing that. They're going to do trade. So trade, gain 3 trade goods, replenish their trade commodities. So 3 trade goods and 4 commodities. The Argent Flight is not going to refresh their own commodities for a token. And so back over to the Argent Flight. They are going to keep on moving because they want to then use warfare, I think. I think they want to move, build, and then do warfare, I think. So what they're going to do is they're going to move to Kusen Raron with these 2 destroyers. And they're going to go through here and they're going to pick up these 2 infantry. And then they're going to drop them off over here. So if you remember, these guys have Strike Wing Alpha 1. I don't know why you would remember this necessarily, but they have 1 capacity. So they're really unique destroyers. That's kind of the thing about the Argent Flight. They're going to move over here. They have move 2. They have capacity 1. They're picking up those dudes. So we'll put a control token right here. They're going to drop them off at Kusen and at Raron. So let's say Raron, to begin with, they're going to get a cultural relic fragment. So we've got a cultural and a hazardous. And then on Kusen, they have local fabricators. So again, they'll gain a commodity. We'll see if that will benefit them or not. But commodity goes into their commodities space there. And then they will gain Kusen and Raron. And then we will see what the Federation can get up to. So Raron and then Kusen. A couple more systems. If I was playing just by myself, not on camera, I might even read the lore of these planets because it's just fun to explore and get all that the sort of world building has to offer. Back to the Federation of Soul. So they have successfully done trade, so they can start moving and potentially be able to, utilize the construction if they wanted to, or really more so, they want to use the warfare if possible. So they're going to go ahead and they're going to move to Lysis Velnor, I think, with this carrier. And they're going to bring probably 2 infantry and probably all 3 of these fighters. Because they're thinking that this might be they have, again, if you're thinking about this faction, they have advanced carriers. So they have 6 capacity. So kind of cool to see both of these factions immediately making use of their unique units. But they're going to take Lysis and Velnor. So let's grab these. For Lysis, it's an industrial relic fragment. And for Velnor, a functioning base. They could gain a commodity or they could spend a trade good or commodity to draw an action card. They'll spend one of their 4 commodities that they have because they planned for that. Oh, sorry. They planned for that. They thought ahead. They thought, I want commodities so I can spend those on these industrial planets. And sure enough, they got an action card. Bunker. At the start of an invasion, during this invasion, apply -4 to the result of each bombardment roll against planets you control. That's super specific and not necessarily the best action card, but that's all right. What can you do? Okay, so back over, let's see, let's make sure that they get their planets. This is Lysis and Velnor. Blaze them through this deck. I didn't have time to make it a smaller deck since we just did the setup. But normally I remove all the planets that aren't being used. Lysis, and we got Velnor. So, okay, so we got those couple of exhausted planets coming to them. Back over to the Argent Flight on the left. So this is where they're going to go ahead and do that move that they thought about, where they're going to use their last tactic token to activate their home system. And they could use, they have Sarween tools. They chose, by the way, they can normally choose Sarween, Neural, and Plasma, 2 of those 3. They chose Sarween tools and Neural Motivator. And they're going to spend Valk, for sure, for 2 resources. They have Sarween tools, so that's 3 resources. They could spend 1 for 1 more. Let's think about that, because that's 3 right there. That would build them, for example, I mean, they could just build 3 destroyers. Let me grab those. 3 destroyers, which with that, they could have, say, these 2 could sweep through here and grab the fighter and the couple fighters and put them on Kornique, and then 1 more could sweep through, grab the mech and bring it to Semlor. So technically they don't need to make more infantry, or they could bring their own infantry actually from right here, which would be cool, because then that carrier would have at least 1 more infantry. I mean, that's kind of cool, because then they could get all these planets right now, but they also still have, the reason why I'm hemming and hawing is I could do this for 2 more infantry right now. But no, actually they couldn't anyways, because this has such poor production value. It's only 2 production value. So they're running up against the unit limit of 4. So they're not going to make infantry. They're just going to make 3 destroyers right now by using Valk and Sarween tools. And that was just them activating that system. So now Federation of Soul knows that they could totally do warfare next turn, so they're going to try and, well, they might want to move out. What do they want to do? Because the idea here is if they can do technology and get gravity drive, that would allow this carrier to get all the way over to here. But if they can build 1 more carrier, that carrier could go, say, here and get these planets, or it could use gravity drive and move all the way over here. They've got lots of options. I don't think they're going to build more than 1 carrier because they want to use, well, yeah. So I think that's fine. I think that's fine. So I think that what they'll do is they will, I don't think they'll build more than 1 carrier. That would be too much, I think, in this case. Oh geez, though, 2 carriers would be epic. Well, either way, what they're going to do is they will actually then do this then. They're going to move here with this carrier with 2 infantry, taking Arnor and Lore. So again, 2 more of these industrial planets. Arnor, functioning base, they can spend a commodity to draw another action card. So they'll spend 1 of these 3 commodities, gain an action card, divert funding, which is return as an action, which is cool. Return a non-unit upgrade, non-faction technology that you own to your technology deck, then research another technology. That's really cool. That's very cool. I think they're going to hold on to that, but that's awesome. And then the other ones, that was Arnor. Lore is going to have abandoned warehouses. You may gain 2 commodities, or you may convert up to 2 commodities to trade goods. That is interesting. They have exactly 2 commodities left, which kind of makes me lean towards doing the convert them into trade goods, but I think they might move their destroyer to Mordai this turn and be able to convert these anyways. So they're going to instead do the gain 2 commodities thing. It's an interesting play, but they're going to do that. They're going to use these abandoned warehouses to gain 2 commodities. And so now that is going to be Arnor and Lore for these planets. And then I believe the next move for the Argent Flight on the left is Arnor. And then we have Lore right there. I think the next move for the Argent flight is to pull off warfare. So they're gonna right now use warfare. So warfare, they'll exhaust that, which allows them to take back this token from their home system, place that in their pool here. They will put one of their command tokens into the tactics pool and be done with their warfare. But for the Federation of Soul, I think they're gonna go ahead and participate in that. They're gonna spend a command token. And now, again, they don't have Sarween, but what they could do is they could literally spend Jord and all 3 of these trade goods to get 2 carriers and 2 infantry, which would be pretty epic. I think they're gonna do that. They're gonna use Jord and 3 trade goods and just forget about the second tech this round. They don't need that. So they're gonna get carrier, and 2 more infantry added to their home system right there. And now it's back to them. So back to the Federation of Soul on the right. They now have these carriers ready to go in this unactivated system, which is awesome. So they're gonna go ahead right now and use technology. So technology, they're gonna research 1 technology. They're not gonna do the 6. So they're gonna research gravity drive. So let's go ahead and pull that up right here. Gravity drive, throwing that down. And back over to, for the secondary, they only have 1 resource, so the Argent flight is not going to participate in the secondary of technology. So back over to the Argent flight. They can now also pull off, this is just crazy, both of them are basically controlling their entire slices almost with this sort of, these shenanigans. So pretty cool to see them just advance out like this. They are going to first, I think, go to Semlor like this. They're going to move with 1 destroyer, and they're going to pick up a mech on the way and drop it off at Semlor. And so Semlor, they will explore that. They get 1 more cultural relic fragment. So they have 2. They just need 1 more. Maybe these Kornik and Rescalon will get that for them. But that is Semlor, I see. So Semlor, easier to find because it has a yellow tech specialty. And then back to the Federation of Soul on the right. Interestingly, I think I kind of forgot this, but they only have 1, I totally forgot that. They only have 1 command token left for movement. So they actually won't be able to explore their whole thing here. That's tough. I kind of messed that up. That's okay. They're gonna go ahead and just move to Arinam, Mir, I think, and get all the influence of that whole place, which would be cool because then they can get a bunch of command tokens next turn. So they're gonna come over there with 2 infantry and not the destroyer, I guess, and drop them off at Arinam and Mir. They'll bring all 3 of these infantry because again, Mir could have some sort of hazardous thing that they have to deal with. So Arinam, abandoned warehouses, they can gain 2 commodities or convert 2 to trade goods. They'll do that right now, is convert 2 commodities to trade goods. That makes me feel better because they basically would have had to do that. Like the same thing they did just now, they would have done the reverse way with those abandoned warehouses if they'd realized they wanted to do that. So yeah, here we go. Expedition for Mir. If you have at least 1 mech or if you remove an infantry, you can ready this planet. That is actually super curious. I think they want to do that because they haven't done leadership yet. Well, they only have politics left though. They could do construction, politics. They can move again. They could actually freeze them out of it, technically, maybe. No, they're going to do it anyway. So they're going to do expedition to remove this infantry and ready Mir. So they're going to take into under their control Arinam and Mir, but Mir is going to come into play readied. So Mir is going to be readied. Arinam is exhausted. And so now it's back to the Argent flight. And they are going to spend, they're going to do construction. So they're going to exhaust construction to place a PDS and a space dock onto Semlor, giving them that beautiful advanced base up there. And I don't think that they want to participate in the secondary of construction. So they will just say, no, thank you very much. So back to them, they're actually going to go ahead and use politics now to grab 2 action cards. And if they can get action cards that have action components, nice. Choose one planet, destroy each PDS on that planet, cripple defenses, that's cool. And decoy operation, which is after another player activates the system that contains one or more of your structures, remove up to 2 ground forces from the game board and place them on a planet you control in the active system. That's really cool. So they've got a couple of really cool action cards they just drew. They get to look at the laws, and they become the speaker for the next round. So laws, they've got Minister of Policy. That's going to get you action cards every turn. Colonial redistribution. Elect a non-home planet other than mecatol. Destroy each unit on the elected planet. Then the player who controls that planet chooses one player with the fewest victory points. That player may place 1 infantry from his reinforcements on the elected planet. I don't think he likes that, so he's going to leave Minister of Policy on top, but he's going to drop the colonial redistribution. And that is his politics. The Argent Flight is not going to use the secondary of that as much as he kind of wants to, but he really needs all his command tokens. So he's going to, well, yeah, he's not going to do it. He'll get 2 action cards in the strategy phase, or the status phase. So he is going to not do the secondary. So for him, he's now going to move to Kornik Resculon with these 2 destroyers. They're going to grab this infantry, come through here, pick up an infantry, and come over here and drop them off on Kornik and Resculon. Let's throw some control tokens down here, like so. Kornik and Resculon. So again, he really would love to have another cultural relic fragment, which he got. So Kornik has got a cultural relic fragment and 1 more than he really needs, but whatever, for Resculon. So he's got 4 cultural relic fragments, which is cool because that also gives him another action, which is really interesting. So Federation of Soul thought that he could out-action him. We'll see if they actually can. Because the Argent Flight wants to kind of stall out the Federation of Soul, but I don't know if he can totally. So he took Kornik and Resculon. Let's give him those planets real fast. Kornik and Resculon. Half the game is just pulling these planets out. But what can you do when you build the map moments ago? Resculon. Kornik and Resculon. So then back over to the Federation of Soul player. He has no more command tokens left. So no more tactic command tokens and no more strategy cards. So you think he might have to just pass, but instead he's going to go ahead and say cripple defenses, action, choose one planet, destroy each PDS on that planet. So he's going to destroy the PDS on Semlor. Pretty cool. So he's going to go in and send his spies out there. This is the first act of war here in the trade wars, is to cripple the defenses on Semlor. But now it comes back to the Argent Flight, and for them, they are thinking, let's see, 6 units. They are PDS units? I forget. I think they are. Oh, interesting. I think because they have 5 destroyers and a PDS, they unlock their commander, which is cool. So now they get, they can choose a unit to roll an additional die for a unit ability every time that they do that. But the Argent Flight is like, well, I've got 1 more action, so let me see if I can stall you out still. They're going to purge all 3 of these cultural relic fragments, and they're going to get a relic. So let's see what they get. The Prophet's Tears. I don't even remember this one. When you research a technology, you may exhaust this card to ignore 1 prerequisite or draw 1 action card. That's pretty sick. I like that a lot. I think that's really good for them because they have technology that they're going to want that they would love to not have to have the prerequisites for. So they can ignore 1 prerequisite or draw a card every time they research a technology. That's great. So the Prophet's Tears is a relic. I don't love that it's not related to a point. I feel like half the relics get you a VP, but that's all right. That is all right. Back to the Federation of Soul, they're like, they don't want to have to do this, but they think it's worth it. They're going to do divert funding. Action, return a non-unit upgrade, non-faction technology that you own to your technology deck, then research another technology. So I think what they want to do is they're going to go ahead and do, weirdly enough, they're going to do anti-mass deflectors. So anti-mass deflectors, they're going to return that to their deck, but now they get to research another technology. And the technology they're going to research, they could do Advanced Carrier 2. That would be really cool because they have 2 blue tech still because of that dark energy tap. Advanced Carrier 2 would be awesome because then they can move 3 spaces. They can carry 8 things. They have sustained damage. They have 4 carriers. What the heck? Let's just do that. So Advanced Carrier 2 is what they will research. And then it's going to come back over to the Argent Flight, and they don't have an action left to stall them, so they're going to go ahead and have to use leadership, which is going to gain them 3 command tokens, and they'll exhaust these planets to get 1 more. So they get 4 command tokens, which they aren't going to use this round, but they'll at least have them. And they had that mirror readied, so they're going to exhaust that to gain 1 command token. So now when it comes back over to the right for the Federation of Soul, they can move 1 more time and get another planet, which is pretty clutch. So they're going to move to Avera, I think, with this carrier, which actually has move 3. But it's going to move 1, 2, so through here, and it's going to pick up an infantry and I think 1 of these fighters. So an infantry and 1 fighter. It's going to take Avera, looks at what the cultural card is here, mercenary outfit. They can place an infantry there from their reinforcements, and they get Avera. Then it's going to go back to the Argent Flight on the left. They pass. Back to the Federation of Soul. They pass. And it goes on to the status phase. So in the status phase, they can score objectives. They do not have the 1 or more ships in 2 systems. They could have tried to prioritize that and get somebody over there maybe. No, I don't think they could have moved there. They could technically have maybe made it work, but they don't have that. Neither do they. Spend 3 influence, 3 resources, 3 trade goods. Not happening. Neither of them are scoring their secret objective. And so, by the way, this goes over here. And so they don't score any objectives. Another public objective comes out. Corner the market. Control 4 planets that each have the same planet trait. Oh, that's awesome. They totally have 4 industrial planets in the bag. They've got they've got cultural planets in the bag. So as long as they can hold those planets without aggression happening, they could score that. They could each score that next round with no problem. Draw action cards. They both have neural motivators. So 2 action cards for the Federation of Soul, 2 action cards for the Argent Flight. And then they remove command tokens, gain command tokens. They're going to have a couple each. Actually, the Soul player gets 3 back because of their versatile ability as humans. And then ready cards, so they'll ready all of their planets and other cards that get readied. And back to then repair units, and then return strategy cards. And now at this point is where you would then also add in the convert commodity step for the trade wars variant. And so in this case, if they had a ship here or there, which if they had 1 more command token, they totally would have put this over there and explored this, and they would have been able to then convert these commodities right now. So 2 of them into trade goods for every system that they had. But they don't have that, so no one converts commodities. And so now it goes back to, since no one has gotten Mecatol Rex, no agenda phase, it goes on to the next round. And so I'll play out just at least the beginning of this second round, and I might just pause partway through this. But we'll see. I just want to see kind of I want to play a little bit more loose and just see how the next round plays out. So this is round 2 coming in. The Federation of Soul has a speaker token, so they will choose the first strategy card. So leadership, always good. As I mentioned, they could get a lot more command tokens. Both of them have a solid number, but they could use more for sure. So I think they're going to go ahead and take, but if they had technology, they could research some really cool stuff too. I think they're going to go ahead and, man, they could also though take mecatol this round. They could easily take mecatol. So what if they go ahead and just are crazy and are like, you know what? No, I'm taking Imperial. They're going to go for Imperial, which gives them that trade good. So it goes over to the Argent Flight. Now, do they want leadership or technology? I think they do want leadership because they really want to, it's just really good to have all of those command tokens. And when it comes back around to them for speaker next round, they might need to grab Imperial at that point. So they're going to grab leadership right now. And then back over to the Federation of Soul. They will go ahead and take technology. Back to the Argent Flight on the left. They're going to want politics later, but do they want trade or construction? Or do they want warfare? I think they want warfare just to, no, if they did warfare, it could really benefit them. Why don't they take construction? Do they want construction? Why do they want PDS? I don't know if they need that. I think they will take, trade could be good because they really do need trade goods. Yeah, they'll do trade. Even though they have one commodity left in their commodity store, they actually need the trade goods from that. So back over to the Federation of Soul, they'll do construction because they want to build out some PDS and space docks on their places. And then back over to the Argent Flight, they'll take politics. And we'll throw warfare and diplomacy over to the side. They'll each get a trade good. Diplomacy can be really good. It just hasn't benefited one player in particular yet. So, all right, I am back because I had to take a quick break with my voice was failing a little bit after an hour of speaking without any water. So I took a little break, but now we're back at it for this second round of this game. And I'm really thinking, just taking a look at it, this would be a great last round to do for this sort of just example gameplay. So let's do the second round. I'm sure that one of these people are going to get mecatol Rex, which will open up the agenda phase. So you'll be able to see probably a battle here, I'm guessing, as well as an agenda phase, which will be cool. So yes, this is the second round. If you remember, leadership, trade, and politics have just been chosen by the Argent Flight over here on the left. Imperial, technology, and construction on the right for the Federation of Soul. So for the Argent Flight, I know they have the first move here because they have the leadership strategy card. And they're thinking, all right, well, they chose Imperial, so clearly they want mecatol Rex. Clearly they can take mecatol Rex because they have Mir and Arinom, and they have three carriers within range. So they could definitely take mecatol Rex this round, which would give them at least 2 victory points, really, because it'd be the one for opening up mecatol, another one for Imperial. And yeah, so that could just not be pretty. So they have a couple of choices here. Do they try to take mecatol first and get that, guarantee that point from the custodian's token by removing that with 6 influence, and then try to deny them using the Imperial? I'm thinking through the math on this, and they would have to probably come in, take that, but they'd be afraid of leaving this vulnerable. You know what? Actually, one option for them would be to take mecatol Rex with just 1 infantry, guarantee the mecatol, guarantee the custodian token point, but be okay with them coming and taking it back from them. I think they're going to do that. Yeah, because even 1 destroyer could also force them to really sort of commit a solid amount of resources to this place. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do is here. For the first action, for the Argent Flight, they're going to move to mecatol Rex, and they're just going to move 1 of these destroyers with this infantry. They're going to move over here and drop it off on mecatol Rex. And then to open up mecatol Rex, they'll have to spend 6 influence. So they'll probably spend Cusen and let's say Kornique and Cusen, Raron, and Regal 1. So these three, they're going to spend those 6 influence in order to appease the custodians and open up Mecatol Rex. So they get 1 point. I like to put this near the scoreboard over here, and then just put one of their control tokens on it so they got a point from that, and they score the first point for open up Mecatol Rex. So they'll gain Mecatol from here, and I think that's pretty solid because it helps prevent, I don't know, a victory point for 6 influence is pretty solid, and it just makes it so that they didn't easily get that themselves. And they don't need that influence for command tokens. They have plenty more influence for a couple extra command tokens, and they have the leadership card. So I think that was a smart play. So back for the Federation of Soul, I guess the question is, should they immediately attack Mecatol? Because I know, let's see, so Trilosa, when a player produces ground forces in a system, so I could do like this, you may exhaust this card. That player may place those units on any planets they control in that system and any adjacent systems. So they're putting the onus on the Federation of Soul to actually immediately attack Mecatol before they can reinforce it with more infantry. So they're going to go ahead and do that. They could alternatively do something like attack Semlor, which would be feasible if they brought in, one of these carriers or 2 of those carriers and attacked it. Maybe that's the bolder, smarter move. Because if they brought these carriers in, they could bring this carrier in next and attack Mecatol and hopefully capture it at that point. That makes sense. Because they've got gravity drive and they have advanced carrier 2, so their carriers can move 3. Well, no, but they can only move 1 of their carriers 3. So if one carrier, like for example this, no. Gosh, I don't know. 1 carrier versus 1 destroyer is not fun, especially when their destroyers have that Strike Wing Alpha raid formation ability, where they can basically shoot past any hits that they land for anti-fighter barrage that aren't soaked by fighters, get assigned to ships that have sustained damage. So it'd be very tough to take Semlor. So I think they're going to at least start by going to Mecatol Rex. And so they're going to go like that. They're going to bring this carrier, which can move 2. And they're going to bring infantry and 2 fighters. And then I think they will also bring this carrier, which will use gravity drive. And they're going to bring 2 infantry. And that will be what they bring to Mecatol Rex. So they're going to do that. And they are going to then fight. So again, so the raid formation for the Argent Flight says when one or more of your units use anti-fighter barrage, for each hit produced in excess of your opponent's fighters, choose one of your opponent's ships that has sustained damage to become damaged. And 2 of their ships have sustained damage because of Federation of Souls advanced carrier 2s. Another thing that's active here for the Argent Flight is they have this commander, their Strike Wing commander says when 1 or more of your units make a roll for a unit ability, like the anti-fighter barrage, you may choose one of those units to roll 1 additional die. So I think right here at the start, I don't think that either of them have any cards to use for attack for fighting other than those. And so, oh, by the way though, let's see, 8, yes, they definitely opened up their Claire Gibson commander because they had 12 resources. So at the start of a ground combat on a planet they control, they can place an infantry there, which is cool. This will also be relevant for the ground combat. They can exhaust this card to choose a ground force in the active system. That ground force rolls 1 additional die during this ground combat. So they're attacking here. The anti-fighter barrage is what first happens. So they're going to roll 3 anti-fighter barrage. They hit on a 9. So 3 dice here. They get 1 hit. So 1 hit, which is going to go to their fighters. So they'll lose a fighter here. And now they roll versus them. So they hit on 9s. They have 3 ships that are hit on 9s. They get a hit. And the destroyer hits on an 8. They do not get a hit. So they wiped out this destroyer. and now they're landing their troops. They have 3 infantry. I don't know if they even need to use Evelyn, but they'll go ahead and use it now. So you may exhaust this card, choose a ground force. That ground force rolls 1 additional die during this combat round. So they're going to roll 4 dice here, and they hit on that's 9 hits. And then for the infantry on the left side, for the Argent Flight, they roll and hit on an 8. They miss, so they took out this infantry and landed on Mecatol Rex and took control of that. So Mecatol Rex comes under the control of the Federation of Sol. So they'll be able to at least pull off their Imperial and score a point that way. So back to the Argent Flight. What is the most pressing sort of next thing for them? Gosh, I mean, it might be even things like, if they could, they might want to just build at some more, but otherwise what they could do is move their destroyer out, like over to Ixth, and be able to get that ability, which allows them to then essentially have a warfare ability, which would be really powerful. And actually, if they don't do that now, I don't know if they're going to have a chance to do that later this round, unless they were able to use the technology. Actually, let's go ahead and just do that. We're going to go use it. They're going to risk leaving Semlor slightly at risk if they were to make a crazy attack and attack Semlor from there. And so they're going to go ahead. By the way, this should have control tokens over here. They're going to go ahead and actually, no. Maybe they don't want to do that. I don't think they want to be risky there. They're just going to immediately actually activate Semlor, and they're going to just build things there. So they can build up to 5 units there. And I think what they want, obviously destroyers are awesome, but they also would probably like a couple infantry, one of which they could place on Qsen, which would keep it more safe from their attacks. So why don't they spend a resource for 2 infantry, which still allows them to have 3 more units. So what they could do is a resource for 2 infantry, another resource for a destroyer, and then what if they did 2 resources for a mech? So that's 4 resources total. And then for their last unit, they could get like, gosh, I don't know if they need a dreadnought really. Maybe they just want a carrier. Gosh, a carrier, dreadnought, flagship. What's their flagship do? Other players cannot use space cannon against your ships in this system, and they hits on 7s. I don't know if they really want that either. You know what they're gonna do is they're just gonna go ahead and build. They're gonna build 3 destroyers and 2 infantry, and that literally costs them just 3 resources. So they'll use Semlor, 3 resources plus Sarwing tools to get 2 infantry and 2 infantry, 2 destroyers. They'll spend 1 more resource. 2 infantry, 2 destroyers, and a mech, because their fleet capacity is at 3, so they can't do 3 destroyers actually right now. They're going to do that, just building this, and one of those infantry, they can use their Trilasa on Merrick, exhausting this to place infantry on Qsen instead. So it's a little bit more protected against the Federation of Sol. All right, so that was their move. Back to the Federation of Sol. They just want to immediately use Imperial so they don't lose out on that. So they're going to do Imperial to immediately score 1 public objective. They can actually, they could totally do the spend 3 influence, 3 resources, 3 trade goods. I think they're going to do that. So they're going to spend Avera. They're going to spend, let's say, Arenam and Lore. And they're going to spend these 3 trade goods that they have to score the Amass Wealth. And they're also going to score 1 from control of the of Mecatol Rex. And I think that the Argent Flight is going to spend a strategy token right now to get a secret objective. I don't know if that's the wisest choice, but they're going to do it. And it's going to be destroy heretical works, Purge 2 of your relic fragments of any type. That's perfect because they have 2 more relic fragments, a hazardous and a cultural, which they don't really want. So that is a perfect secret objective. Nice. Okay. So yeah, that is cool. So back over to the Argent Flight, since they just did Imperial. So Argent Flight, they might want leadership just to get a bunch more command tokens, but they also might want something like trade or politics. I don't think they have to do anything like really aggressive right this moment. So I think what they'll do is they'll do leadership. So leadership right now is going to allow them to gain 3 command tokens, plus they're going to do these 3 planets with 6 influence to get an additional 2 command tokens. So they gain 5 command tokens, which is awesome. So 1 in the strategy, 1 more in the fleet capacity, maybe 2 more in the fleet capacity, and 2 more in the tactics pool. All right. So that was them doing strategy. They're going to use the secondary of that. They're going to use Mir and Lysis to get 2 command tokens themselves. So 1 in the tactic pool and 1 in the strategy pool. So now it's back to the right side with the Federation of Sol. Let's see. They probably want to go ahead and use construction right now. They'll use construction, and I think what they want to do is they do want to protect mecatol, and they might as well get a space dock on it too. So they're going to do a space dock and a PDS. Yeah, they can't build that many units, but they don't have to. If they can just like be building a carrier and a couple of infantry even, or a carrier and a couple of fighters, I think that could be solid enough. And then they can orbital drop more troops up there, or move more troops like straight from Jord, since they have move 3 with their carriers. So yeah, I think they'll be fine with that. They have like a clear path from Jord to mecatol. So yeah, they'll build a space dock and a PDS. I think the Argent Flight will also spend a strategy token right now to place 1 PDS on Semlor. Yeah, because they want to protect it, and if they get PDS2, then that really protects their kind of forward systems right there. So they'll do a single PDS, and it's kind of a perfect time to do it with this command token. So they are good there. So back over to the left side with the Argent Flight. They're going to go ahead and I think use the trade ability. So trade is going to give them 3 trade goods and refresh their commodities to 3. And the Federation of Sol is not going to participate in the secondary of that. So back to the Federation of Sol. I still don't think they want to make a bold move yet with their carrier. Although they have to be aware that if they do technology right now, this guy could get move 3 if they upgraded their upgraded destroyers. I don't think get move 3. Whoa, I thought that the Strike Wing Alphas might get move 3, but they do not. They do not. They need gravity drive for that, which is interesting. But if they just did gravity drive, then this single destroyer could get over here and drop off an infantry and take one of their planets, which would not be fun. But it wouldn't be the worst thing. They could hit it right back. So what if they do that now? What if they were to just do technology right now? They'll do technology. So technology, and they'll spend, honestly, these 6 resources to research a second technology. So they're going to go ahead and research. No, actually, they will not do that. They're not going to do technology yet. Instead, first, they're going to do this. They're going to move to Mordai 2 with this destroyer. So 1, 2, 3 using gravity drive. And they are going to investigate this because they have dark energy tap from the sort of variant thing that we did. They're going to investigate this frontier token. And so they get this. Derelict vessel. Draw 1 secret objective. That's awesome. So a secret objective. They came across a derelict vessel. Unveil flagship. Win a space combat in a system that contains your flagship. You cannot score this objective if your flagship is destroyed in this combat. Interesting. So they are now very motivated to get their flagship, which their flagship is really good. So that's not too bad. All right. What that did though is now after you gain a technology, you may draw one action card with that commander. So they have access to that commander now that they're in this trade system, which is cool. So if they do technology next turn and gain 2 technologies, they'll get 2 more action cards, which is really great. So wow, that's very powerful. Back over to the Argent Flight. They're going to go ahead and do politics, drawing 2 action cards, and they're going to get diplomatic pressure and ancient burial sites, and they get to look at the 2 laws. There's Minister of Policy, and there is Seed of an Empire. The player with the most victory points gains 1 victory point, or the player with the fewest victory points gains 1 victory point. That's interesting. Let's keep that, because they have a lot of influence. Let's keep that up top. We'll just play it risky. We're gonna put that, so Minister of Policy on top, Seed of an Empire underneath that. They're gonna play it a little bit risky and hope that they're able to get that for themselves. And they get the Speaker token at that point with politics. Federation of Soul certainly is not gonna use the secondary of politics because they have plenty of action cards. They're gonna get even more right now because they're gonna do technology. They're gonna spend 6 resources and they're gonna get 2 technologies. So there's no technology objectives. So what do they really want to do here? I think what they might want to do is just get something like, I mean, their spec ops could be awesome. So could hypermetabolism. I don't know. I think what they might do, let's see, biostims, you may exhaust this card to ready one of your planets. Or psychoarchaeology. You can use technology specialties in planets you control without exhausting them, even if those planets are exhausted. They have red. That's all they have. They have a bunch of red technology. No, I think what they might do is literally get Sarween tools and another yellow tech. What if they got like, because predictive intelligence is cool, but what about Scanlink drone network? That's when you activate a system, you may explore one planet in that system that contains 1 or more of your units. Nah, they'll get Starwing tools. I think they'll get a green tech because they want to move forward on the green tech side of things. So do they want psychoarchaeology or do they want the X-Bacteria or the biostims? Biostims would be exhausted at the end of your turn to ready one of your planets as a technology specialty or one of your other technologies. So it could like ready Valinor or Mir, or just ready one of their other technologies, although they don't have like an exhaustible technology right now. So they'll go ahead and do psychoarchaeology, which is you can use technology specialties on planets you control without exhausting them, even if those planets are exhausted. During the action phase, you can exhaust planets you control that have technology specialties to gain 1 trade good. So if they wanted to, I don't know, it doesn't seem like the best tech, but it gets them closer to, now they have 2 and 2, 2 green, 2 blue, which is one of these objectives that could come out. And so that's just their idea for tech. So they're gonna do that, and they gain 2 action cards because of the Necro Commander. The Necro Commander, that relationship is just, they love these action cards. They get another direct hit and they get an Uprising, which is exhaust 1 non-home planet controlled by another player, then gain trade goods equal to its resource value. That's pretty good. They don't have too many big ones, but that's all right. Okay, and then they are going to go ahead and spend 4 resources. So most of their resources that they have remaining, 4 resources and a strategy token to also research a technology. And they are going to go ahead and, what was it? They're going to exhaust the Prophet's Tears to ignore a prerequisite on, well, gosh, do they want to do that to get Strikewing Alpha 2 or whatever, Strikewing Alpha 2, or do they want to get Gravity Drive? Because Gravity Drive could allow like their destroyers, actually they need Gravity Drive, unfortunately, they need to do that. So they're going to do Gravity Drive, which they could exhaust Prophet's Tears to ignore a prerequisite, but they actually have it because we're playing with the Dark Energy Tap automatic variant. So they've got gravity drive here for technology, and they have something else that gains them something. I don't remember. No, I think that's what they have for their technology. So they're going to do that. So it's back to the Argent Flight. They've honestly, both players have used most of their resources, all their strategy cards. They just have a bunch of tactical things to do now. But here's what they're going to do. First things first, the Argent Flight is going to move over here with one of these destroyers with an infantry. They're going to move over here, and they're going to investigate this frontier token. See what that gives them. Ion Storm. Place the Ion Storm token in this system with either side face up. Wow, this is cool. The Ion Storm is the alpha or beta wormhole. At the end of a move ships or retreat subset of a tactical action during which one or more of your ships use the Ion Storm wormhole, flip the Ion Storm token to its opposing side. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do the beta wormhole. Or do I want alpha? Beta would allow me to have like really big access to their home worlds. I think I'm going to do the beta wormhole and try that. And I put the Ion Storm card right over here, and that's what they get. And now I have access to, or the Argent Flight has access to the almost like warfare ability of the Ilna Vira set. So there we go. So now back over to the Federation of Soul. He's got some choices here. What does he want to do? Does he want to, I almost think he might want to take something like Quan, which would, yeah, he might do that because that would like keep a lot of his stuff better protected from these destroyers. So I think he'll do that. I think he's going to go here with either with this carrier or with this carrier. I think with this carrier because it can only move one out of Avera. So he's going to move right here with an infantry and a fighter. I mean, he could move this carrier as well, which would be a little bit crazy. But if he did that, it would mean that his carrier is no longer like able to move around and do cool stuff. But yeah, I don't think he wants to do that. I think he wants to keep this ready to react to anything that they might do. So he's going to go here with this carrier, with this infantry and this fighter, and drop it off at Quan. So this is exploring Quan. Quan has a cultural card, mercenary outfit, place another infantry there from your reinforcements. There we go. Quan comes under his control, exhausted. And that is the Federation of Souls turn. So back to the Argent Flight. They've still got 4 tactic tokens. So they can do some pretty interesting stuff because again, they can activate their systems with that Ilna Vero set and then return both those command tokens to their reinforcements and end their turn. So they could, they could do all sorts of things here. Like they could attack Mecatol if they wanted to. I don't think they could win that battle, but they could do it technically. It could happen, or they could attack Quan and try and take Quan. Mecatol's not great for them. They really don't want Mecatol to be there, not under their control. So do they push for it and just like really try to take out Mecatol? I mean, they've got 5 fleet capacities. They could bring in so many destroyers. One of the problems is they don't have any bombardment. So that's problematic. But I think they want to do something crazy. So what they're going to do right now is they're going to just activate this system like so and remove both of those to their reinforcements. And then they are done. Whew, okay. So back to the Federation of Soul. Now I'm thinking I should have moved this instead of this. Whoops. Or maybe they, I don't know. I think they have to activate Jord and just at least strengthen up Jord. So they're going to spend 2 resources and they have Sarween tools so they can build 3 resources worth of units. I think they literally might just build like 6 infantry on their home world. So if they did 6 infantry. That just would really protect Jord from, for sure, from any ground invasion. And then they could always, you know, come in and do stuff. They could even come through here and take perimeter at some point with a carrier and kind of move, redistribute some of those infantry. Yeah, I think that's good. So 6 infantry for them on Jord. And then it's going to be back to the Argent Flight. And I think the Argent Flight, a couple things. They will be able to do the control 4 planets that each have the same planet traits. So I don't think they have to worry about any other objective this round. But let's see. They have 6 industrial, 2 cultural. They would have to take like so many industrial for them to stop him from getting the control 4 planets that each have the same planet trait. So they're not going to try and do that. I think what they want to try and do is go ahead and make a all or nothing attack on mecatol. So they're going to activate mecatol as well and remove that command token. It's a little crazy, but they're going to do it. So now it's back to the Federation of Sol. And they could see this coming. They could do orbital drop. So they could spend a strategy token to place 2 infantry on a planet you control. They don't have 3 resources to spend. They could do a mech instead. But they're going to spend a strategy token, placing 3 more infantry on mecatol. That's 2 more infantry on mecatol, which is pretty strong. That's really going to give them a ton of infantry. So if it goes back to the Argent Flight, how do they want to handle this? Do they still want to go for it? Is it still worth it? Or should they hit somewhere else and then hope that they can hit, you know, mecatol again later? I think they might want to do that. Maybe they just take Quan now and then they could hit mecatol in the future. I think they want to do that. So they're going to go ahead and they're going to activate Quan. Yeah, and they're going to move this destroyer with an infantry here, because it has move 2. This destroyer with a mech comes over here. This destroyer with a mech comes over here. This destroyer is going to bring this infantry with gravity drive to join the fight. And I don't think they want another destroyer, although they could. Do they want to? No, I think that's all they'll do with that. So they're going to attack Quan like so. And let's see how this battle goes. So this is 4 destroyers versus a carrier and a fighter. So, okay. So again, the raid formation means that they're rolling, gosh, how many dice? I think 9 dice for anti-fighter barrage. Now they kind of wish that they could have upgraded their fighter or their destroyers, but that's okay. They have 9 dice for anti-fighter barrage. So let's roll these. They get, wow, 3 hits. That's phenomenal. Plus 2 more? What? So 5 hits with anti-fighter barrage, which means that they take out this fighter and then they can, with their raid formation ability, they can damage this sustained damage carrier, like so. And now it's 4 destroyers versus the carrier. So the destroyers are going to roll and hit on an 8. Yep, they hit on an 8. And then the carrier rolls and misses on a 6. And so the carrier is destroyed. And now they can land 2 infantry and 2 mechs on this planet. Their commander, the Federation of Sol, Claire Gibson commander, can place an infantry on that planet immediately, which is so good. That's actually really, really good. But they have 3 infantry now versus 2 mechs and 2 infantry. That's a pretty fair fight, in fact. That's actually a little bit uncomfortably fair of a fight. So, but let's go. Let's see. The mechs hit on 6 and they have sustained damage. I don't think, direct hit does not work on mechs, which is good, at least from what I see, unless there was some sort of errata. It says ship. So it doesn't say unit. So unless it was an errata, they can't use their 2 direct hits, which they have, unfortunately. But so it's 2 mechs and 2 infantry versus the 3 spec ops. So let's go. So the 2 mechs hit on 6s, no hits. Shoot. 2 infantry hit on 0 and then miss with a 7. So 1 hit from the Argent Flight. And then these spec ops hit on 7s. They got 1 hit. So just going to take a hit on this infantry and then sustain damage on that mech. That's pretty solid, at least for the Argent Flight. But let's see. They miss with their mechs. They could easily miss with their infantry. They miss with their infantry. The spec ops hit with 1, so they're going to take another sustained damage. This could go either way, for sure. The mechs hit once, and their infantry hit once with an 8. Yeah, so 2 hits. So that should be good enough. Their infantry hit with 1 hit, and so they lose an infantry. So, boom. They were able to take Quan from the Federation of Soul. So Quan comes under their control. And right now, they might as well just go ahead and do demonstrate your power. Actually, that should have happened right before this. But have 3 or more non-fighter ships in the active system at the end of a space combat. Boom. So they were able to do demonstrate your power. I like to throw these over here. And they scored that, which puts them up to 2 as well. And that was them. So back over to the Federation of Soul. They don't really have anything else that they can or want to do, I don't think. So I think they will literally, oh gosh, should they pass or should they move this carrier like here or something just to protect Avera? Or do they use, orbital drop to drop some infantry? They're not gonna have access to leadership. So no, they're just gonna pass. They're gonna pass, which puts the onus back onto the Argent Flight, who I think they will attack Avera. So what they're going to do is they're going to go here. And how do these mechs work? This unit does not count against capacity if it's being transported or if it is in a space area with 1 or more of your ships that have capacity values. Wait, they shouldn't even go there. What am I saying? They can just take Lysis and Velnor. I don't know if they missed. Well, I don't know what they could have done about that. They're going to go ahead and do this. They're going to move this destroyer through here with gravity drive. And then because these guys don't count against the fleet capacity, I think they can just go right in and take Velnor and Lysis. So wow, they just stole Velnor and Lysis from them and are really changing the landscape here. Velnor and Lysis. And now they have a ton more planets than the Federation of Soul. All right. Okay, well, let's see how this goes. Federation still has passed, and the Argent Flight has no more tactic tokens, so they will also pass. So let's see how this works now. That was the end of that. Status phase here, score objectives. Starting with the speaker, Argent Flight. They are going to go ahead and score, I think, 2 objectives, because they're going to score control 4 planets that each have the same planet trait. They have 4 industrial planets, I think, or they have 4 cultural planets for sure. Let me throw these over here. So they have 4 planets that each have the same trait. That goes up to 3, but they're also going to destroy heretical works. They're going to burn some books here. They're going to use hazardous and cultural relic fragments. They're going to purge those and score again to go up to 4. Over to the Federation of Soul. They do have, wait, they don't control perimeter. Oh man. So I think they actually have, let's see. No, yeah, they only have 3 industrial and 2, no, not even 2 cultural. They just have the 3 industrial. So they actually can't do corner the market. And they don't have 2 ships and 2 systems adjacent to mecatol. So they can't score a public objective. That was huge. But they do score, no, they don't have mine rare minerals either because they don't have the hazardous planets. They don't have, what the heck? Wow, so they just are at 2 points. Wow, they really got left behind there in this scoring phase. But now raise a fleet is added. Have 5 or more non-fighter ships in one system. interesting. That's definitely favorable to the Argent Flight. Draw action cards. They get 2 more action cards. So diplomatic pressure and frontline deployment. That's actually 1 too many. So they're gonna go ahead and lose, I think, that bunker ability because they don't expect to have to use that. The Argent Flight also gets 2. They get skilled retreat and a direct hit, which is pretty good. And now remove command tokens and gain them. So they go all the way back. They remove all 3 of those and they gain 2. So they're gonna probably have 2 in tactics, 4 in fleet, and 1 in strategy. But they are speakers, so they should have access to leadership immediately if they want. Yeah, and then the soul player is going to remove all 4 of these, and they're going to get back 3. So they're going to put 3 into tactics. They'll put 3 into fleet, so they can potentially build a bigger fleet, and 1 in strategy. And then it's ready all their cards. So they ready all their planets, all of their agents, and so on. And then repair units, so these mechs get fixed. Then return strategy cards. And now you get to see the convert commodity step that's added in the variant. So for both of these players, so the Federation of Soul has 2 commodities and they control a trade system. So they get to convert up to 2 commodities into trade goods. The Argent Flight controls 1 trade system. They have 3 commodities. They can convert up to 2 of those into trade goods, and they'll still have 1 commodity left over. And that is the convert commodities. That's the end of the status phase. So now to the agenda phase. You'll get to see how a agenda phase plays out for them. So let's see how this goes. I don't think either of them really have action cards, surprisingly, that really will be used in the agenda phase. So I think this should be pretty purely just about voting. So the Argent Flight has 9, 10, 13 votes. However, they always vote first during the agenda phase. When you cast at least 1 vote, cast 1 additional vote for each player in the game, including you. That's not the best in this sort of situation. So they always vote first, but they'll cast 2 additional votes. That's funny. I don't think I remember that they do that. They vote first, they cast 2 additional votes. And so they had, I'm so sorry, how many was that? It was 8, 9, 10, 13 votes, but with 2 additional votes. So really it's 14 votes. I'm sorry, they have planets over here. They have 20 votes plus the 2 extra that they get when they vote. And the Federation of Soul only have 12, 15, 18 votes. So 18 votes, and did I say 20? I'm really struggling. I'm really struggling with memory right now. 20 votes over here, and they have 10, 18 votes. So 20, 18, but the 2 extra for the Argent Flight. So again, it's weird because they vote first. This isn't going to be the clearest example of how this works normally, just because it's a little bit different. But how this will work is for the first vote comes up, again, the Argent Flight player is the speaker. It's Minister of Policy. The elected player gains this card. At the end of the status phase, the owner of this card draws 1 action card. So normally it would be voting, since they're the speaker, it would vote Necro, Federation, Barony, the Argent Flight, and finally the Mahakt Gene Sorcerers. But because of their zeal, they vote first. So they're just gonna vote first. And I'm assuming what I'm gonna play that as is that they really it cuts through everything. They're just gonna vote first before seeing any other votes. I feel like there's a couple different ways you can interpret that in regards to this specific variant, but I think that I'm just gonna interpret that as they just straight up go first before seeing any other votes. So so they will vote. Do they want Minister of Policy? I mean, that's not the biggest deal. I don't think they're gonna vote at all on this one. So they're gonna well, let's see. When they cast at least one vote, they cast additional 2 votes. They'll cast 1 vote. So they'll cast 1 vote plus 2 because of their zeal. So they have 3 votes for themselves for Minister of Policy. So I'll use dice to sort of mark this, but it's 3 votes to elect themselves. Now, how this works is that the Necro will now vote. On a 1 to 5, they vote for the Argent Flight. On a 6 to 10, they vote for Federation of Sol. They vote for Sol. They want them to be the Minister of Policy. They trust them. So they rolled a 6, so it was, Federation of Sol. They rolled a 2, so it's only 2 votes plus 0 influence, so 2 votes for Sol. Sol, they've only got 18 votes, which can't beat them straight out, but they're like, well, maybe there's a more important second agenda. So I think they're going to hold off on voting for themselves this round. They're going to let these 2 planets see how those go. So the Barony is going to vote. So they're voting 0 votes. Barony is going to vote for the Argent Flight with 5 plus 1 is 6 votes. So now this is up to 9 votes for the Argent Flight, 2 for Sol. And so as long as Mahact chooses to vote for Sol, they'll probably get it. But if they vote for the Argent, then Argent gets it. So on a 1 to 5, it's Argent. They vote for the Argent with a total of 4 plus 5, so 9 more votes. So 18 votes to 2. And the Galaxy has elected the Argent Flight as the Minister of Policy. So they get elected Minister of Policy. And now the next one, which is really the most important one, is Seed of an Empire. 4. The player with the most victory points gains 1 victory point. Against the player with the fewest victory points gains 1 victory point. So let's see, this is a huge one. The Argent Flight for sure want to vote with all their votes. So it was 19 votes plus 2 more because of their zeal. So 21 votes. So go like this. 21 votes for the Argent Flight right out the gates. Necro, they vote on a 1 to 5, they vote for the Argent. 6 to 10, they vote for the Federation of Sol. They vote for the Argent with 8 votes. 8 plus 0, so it's up to 29. That's not insurmountable, but that is really good. The Federation will vote with all their votes, so all 18 votes for themselves. So it's 18 versus 29 with 2 more of these trade systems to vote. So the Barony, really counting on them, they vote for the Federation of Sol. They voted 5 plus 1, so 6 more votes. So they're up to 24. And actually, one quick backseat is that the Argent, remember in the variant, you can spend commodities. So they would have spent their 1 commodity for 1 additional vote because they don't see themselves, using that for some other reason. So it's 30 votes for themselves, 24 for Sol. So really, they're gonna, again, Mahact is really gonna decide who has the seat of the Empire. So on a 1 to 5, they vote for the Argent. 6 to 10, Federation of Sol. They vote for the Federation of Sol, and they have 5 influence. So as long as they get, I think, anything more than a 1, 1 plus 5 would be 6, so we bring it to 30, and the Argent Flight is a speaker, so they could break that tie. But anything more than a 1, the Sol player gets it. It's a 10. So 10. Wow, they go full in, all support for the Federation of Sol. So they win with 39 votes to 30 votes. The seat of an empire means that they, I think I did that right. The player with the fewest points gains 1 victory point. So Sol got the seat of an empire directive. Boom. So ended up there at 4 and 3. That was a great ending to that. I think you could see how that really worked out. And again, there was one other element in here, which was as soon as, say, if they had been able to move a ship into here, while they control 2 of the trade systems, they get 1 extra point. And so as long as you're controlling 2 of them, you would have an extra point. But that's really the only other thing you didn't see, I think, from this variant. But yeah, as you can see, I had a blast playing through this game, just a couple of rounds, and really getting to explore the game, getting to explore, a new faction that I wouldn't otherwise have a ton of opportunities to get to know. getting an opportunity to also check out those commanders and see how all of them work. And yeah, that's just been really fun for me to kind of have that whole experience, because otherwise I always feel like I'm coming into Twilight Imperium games and just like there's just so many pieces and so many things going on, especially with Prophecy of Kings, that I'm sometimes just really overwhelmed by everything out there. And this has been a great way to sort of break that in a very low stress, low stakes environment. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed watching this. I hope that you gained a lot from this. And I hope to hear from you if you try this out either on your own or with a friend. And I hope that you have a great time with this. Please let me know any questions you have in the comments. And again, in the description of this video, you can find that one-page rules outline sheet for you to print out or pull up on your phone or computer for your use. So thanks. Have a great day. Bye.